Oh, that's terrible to hear, Mr. Robot. Everyone needs some leisure time. I recommend you have some Baggy hi-fi time. Greetings, cats and kittens. Welcome once again to Baggy Hi-Fi, this YouTube channel devoted to record collecting and the vinyl community here in the UK. Welcome to this latest video, which is a 60s beat, garage, psych and surf special with a little bit of exotica thrown in. If you're a regular viewer of Baggy Hi-Fi, you'll know that often the records shown can be from this period of real change in music from the 60s into the early 70s as we travel from sort of beat through psychedelia into early prog. But this video is going to focus strictly on 1960s releases, except for one single I'm going to show at the end, which has a real 60s connection. So let's go into it straight away. The first record I'm going to show is an Exotica album, which I was quite pleased to get for £2. It's the Exotica Suite. The orchestra is Cy Zentner, and the music is Martin Denny is involved, and also the music is mainly composed by Les Baxter. So lots of names associated with the easy listening phenomenon known as Exotica. And I only really need to read out some of these track listings to know what kind of mood is evoked in this album. Temple Pageant, Demons and Dragons, Bali Monkey Dance, Pagan Ritual, Jungle Train, Lotus Pool, Tribe of the Moon. It's a really nice and beautifully recorded album on very heavyweight vinyl. The wax was really of good quality in those days, and it just leaps out of the speaker. So that's a really enjoyable Exotica album I picked up for £2. Next one was a gap in my Pebbles collection, which is by no means exhaustive. I think there's at least 20 odd volumes of Pebbles collections, usually of garage and garage punk and 60s psychedelia. But this is the volume 4, which was devoted to surf music. Really strong volume of Pebbles. As you might imagine, the Beach Boys are involved partly here. Jan and Dean, Terry Melcher, Bruce Johnston, who was of course in the Beach Boys. So these are songs which were focusing on the surf craze that was going around in the early 60s. And some of the lesser known artists on here, the Four Speeds, the Rivieras. It's all really good fun, really twangy stuff. You might want to wax your woody down before you listen to this one. Back to the UK for this one. It's a nice cheap collection of 60s songs released on the Decca label. On here, this is a really enjoyable collection. On here, Amen Corner, Honeybus, Dave Berry, Them, Here Comes the Night, Pinkerton's Assorted Colours with the lovely Faye proto-psych song Mirror Mirror, The Fortunes, Marian Faithfull, The Small Faces with All or Nothing, Warm Sounds, Billy Fury, Cat Stevens, Lulu and Chris Andrews closing with Yesterday Man. So listening to this record is almost like what you'd imagine listening to a 1960s radio station would have been like, maybe Radio 1 when it first began. So real strong collection on the Decca label. And I think I'm probably the only person who ever shows Cilla Black records in the vinyl community. But here's Cilla's first album, which was a gift. It's from 1965. It's just called Cilla. Now I think Cilla's reputation has been a bit tarnished by what she did in the 80s when she hosted TV shows like Surprise Surprise and what was the other one? Blind Date. Yeah, but this is her first album, produced by George Martin on the Parlophone label. And yeah, the arrangements are really very, very nice. Some of the song choices aren't that great. There's a version of Old Man River, which isn't really suited to Scylla's voice, but she sounds very young as she was on this album. Fresh out of being working in the Cavern and getting to know the Fab Four. I'm sure that didn't harm her career at all. I think probably the nicest song on here, it's a lovely, lovely interpretation, is Going Out of My Head. I don't think that was a single, but it's the first track on this album, and it's very, very good. Just before we hear some needle drops from these records, another cheap one, Duane Eddy, twangy guitarist from the US. This is a 1966 album called The Biggest Twang of Them All, which sounds a bit like an insult to me, but it's not. Groovy liner notes on the back here. It's a sound that's alive and kicky. It's today. Ask any 12,000. They'll tell you Duane Eddy's the biggest twang of them all. Now this is another one that leaps out of the speakers. Beautiful, loud pressing, and the production was done by Lee Hazelwood. So that's a really nice buy, and I love that lettering there. Very, very 60s style. Briefly moving over to the USA again, I've got this one quite cheap. It's in the Nuggets series, and it's a collection of Sunshine Pop, 60s Sunshine Pop, in a quite a fancy package. As you'll see, it's a double album, and the sleeves come out of this die cut sleeve, and it's on sunshiny, orangey sort of marmalade vinyl. I think I do have this compilation, or more or less the same compilation of Sunshine Pop tracks on CD, but I thought I'd get this one while the price was good. All from the Warner Vaults, and included on here are tracks by Harper's Bazaar, the Everly Brothers doing a bit of sort of Psych Sunshine Pop, the Monkees, Someday Man, lovely tune that one, the Gates of Eden, the Gas Company, the Association, of course. What a Sunshine Pop collection would it be if the Association weren't included? So that's Nuggets Come to the Sunshine double album on Warner Brothers. I think that was a Record Store Day release from about 3 years ago. Now, I'm sure I've spoken many times about one of my favourite CD labels, part of the Cherry Red roster of labels, and that's the Grapefruit label, who have been releasing some fantastic box sets, CD box sets in these clamshell boxes. So this is the one in a series of 60s compilations, 3 CD in each box. The first one that came out was 67, and it's gone up to about 72, I think, 1972. But then the series started going backwards to 1966, and this is the 1965 box of pinups, the British sounds of 1965. And so appropriately a black and white cover, because in 1965 everything was in black and white. It was the swinging 60s, it was op art. What's great about this collection is that it doesn't include really obvious tracks. Some of the major big artists are on here, you know, like the Hollies and the Pretty Things and the Small Faces and the Animals, and Mark Bolan with the Wizard. You expect to hear on here, it's too early for psychedelia, but it's also a time when riffs were really coming in, strong riffs like the Kinks had initiated with You Really Got Me, really simple sort of garagey type riffs. There's a lot of harmonica on here. It's a lot of R&B, British bands with attitude, most of them quite, you know, sort of confrontational. I've forgotten how great the riff is for the Animals' It's My Life, but the needle drop I'm going to show play is by The Eyes, a band who I love, who've appeared on some freak beat compilations. So I do heartily recommend this box of pinups. And you may remember that David Bowie recorded his Pinups album, which was a tribute to those bands of this time of the sort of mid-60s that he would go and see down at the Marquee. But I believe that the title Box of Pinups is connected with 60s photographer. He released a box of photos of movers and shakers of that time and called it the Box of Pinups. So 1965 sound, British R&B. And in that vein, here is a double album of the Pretty Things. I think I saw John Bellamy show this recently. He got it quite cheap. I paid a little bit more for it myself, but it's a very, very strong collection of the Pretty Things album, music from 64 to 67, that time when they were very much a rebellious R&B band in the sort of Rolling Stones vein. They were definitely thought to be a threat to society because the Pretty Things, including Phil May, the singer there, look at that sullen attitude there on the sleeve. But yeah, they had even longer hair than the Rolling Stones. But some brilliant tracks on here. Rosalind, Buzz the Jerk, Don't Bring Me Down, LSD, Come See Me. It's a real nice collection on the Philips label. And now a little bit more obscure, but also from that time and in that vein of punchy 60s British R&B beat music are the Byrds. Now the Byrds, if you recognise him, that's Ronnie Wood. It was Ronnie Wood's band before he was in the Faces. But do think, if you're wondering what this music is like, do think of the Small Faces, sort of soul-inflected R&B, 60s guitar beat music with some slight sort of proto-freak beatish guitar breaks. But this is a collection of their singles. They never really were very successful, but nevertheless, a very, very strong collection by the Byrds. That's the Byrds without the Y. These are the British Byrds. Ronnie Wood's band. Great collection. Do recommend this one if you see it.
You got a great suede coat and a soul like fire. You got all you want, you couldn't be no higher. Said you've been to town like you're a queen, and there ain't no place that you've not been. But I'm rolled out, yeah, I'm rolled out with you. Said I'm rolled out, yeah, I'm rolled out with you. Said I'm rolled out, yeah, I'm rolled out with you.
Okay, let's move on towards the end of the 60s now, as psychedelia arrived and things went into full bloom. This album I'm going to show now was on the C for Miles record label, which was fairly short-lived but did release some really interesting reissues and some compilations. This is a soundtrack album from a film that Peter Whitehead made in the 60s about the swinging 60s called Tonight Let's All Make Love in London. So this compilation includes dialogue from the film, including groovy people of the time like Michael Caine, Andrew Logue Oldham, Edna O'Brien, Lee Marvin. But I think my favourite spoken word bit on here is David Hockney talking about how he found the new four-penny stamp sexy because it showed the British footballers kicking footballs around with their shorts on. So yeah, this is one that probably attracts a lot of people, Pink Floyd fans, because it includes a previously unreleased full-length version of Interstellar Overdrive, 16 minutes 46 seconds. So this is the Syd Barrett Pink Floyd. He used to play, of course, in the UFO Club, and so this album presents a image of the swinging 60s. Now, do we believe that the 60s were that swinging? I mean, certainly all these artists do tie in with that, but if you lived in what was once called the provinces, then maybe things weren't quite so swinging if you were a miner, living in a pit village somewhere in the north. So it was probably a very, very tiny scene, but nevertheless, we all celebrate this time as being somehow very colourful and swinging. And as I just said, I think it was just a very small part of London, and so let's all make love in London. But this is a really worthwhile album tracking down, especially if you are a Pink Floyd fan and a fan of Syd Barrett. Now this next one is kind of going into the pop psych vein, and it's a 10-inch released, I think there's another Record Store Day release from a couple of years ago, and it's by The Tickle. And The Tickle were a kind of a studio band put together featuring guitarist Mick Wayne, who's famous for playing the guitar on David Bowie's Space Oddity single, but Mick Wayne had been playing with Bowie for quite a while, and I think he probably plays on Bowie's first album. So they hooked up with producer Tony Visconti and recorded one single, which is a pop psych classic, and that's Subway, Smoky Pokey World, which features on lots of 60s pop psych compilations, and it is a great one. Side B, it's a 4-track 10-inch. Side B has a couple of unreleased tracks by this band, and reproduces the old Fly label there. But really nice to have that one. Really, I would say, first class British pop psych from about 67. Now, going back to the States. Now, this is a psychedelic compilation series of them. I'm not sure how many there are. I think there are about 6 or 7 in this series. Psychedelic Unknowns. So this is Psychedelic Unknowns Volume 4. Although you maybe wouldn't be able to make it out in that groovy lettering there. This is, don't expect sort of San Francisco long meandering psychedelia here. This is still sort of garage style unknowns, playing psych-inflected tunes. It's pretty strong all the way through though. No one really well known on this one, but a lot of groovy names like The Mist, spelt with a Y, The Unrelated Segments, Creation's Disciple, The Humane Society, Mouse and the Traps, We the People, The Skeptics, The Chain Reaction. It's the only one I have in this series, but I'd like to get more because I do enjoy these sort of Pebbles style compilations of obscure psych bands of the late 60s. Now, finally, I did mention at the beginning that I was going to show one record here that isn't actually from the 60s. This is from 2021, last year, and I first became aware of this 7-inch by the Low Spirits when I was watching Garner's channel, Born Out of Time, because he often plays Psych revival and garage punk revival bands, and this is a really strong current band from the USA. I think it's from Rochester, and it's really snotty, snarly garage punk with a cheesy Farfisa organ. Really well done. It's on a Spanish label, it has an insert with it and a nice little picture, but yeah, there are still bands making this music, devoted to this type of music, and long may they be so. White vinyl. I'm going to do a needle drop from this. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this troll through my latest purchases of the 60s nature, various styles of music, of course. Hope to see you quite soon in the next video. Hope everyone's well. Hope you didn't get battered in yesterday's storm, which we had here in the UK. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Say you love me, but you won't leave me. You say it's fair, you don't see me. You say I makes the heart go fun. Girl, must be out of sight, out of mind. Girl, no matter what you say, out of sight. Girl, as soon as we're apart, you'll be off mine. Off my hand. Off my eye. Off my